So we're going to begin at the top of the page if the page is horizontal. And you're going to measure from the top of the page down 1 inch. And all the marks we're going to make are going to be very light because we're going to erase them. So make sure that you're holding your pencil really relaxed and you're barely putting a mark on the paper. And I'm measuring this. This is going to be a rectangle that's 1 inch by 7. And I'm placing my ruler there. See how my fingers are spread out when I'm holding that ruler? That's to kind of keep that ruler steady. If you have your fingers close together, it can make that ruler kind of wobbly. So I'm going there. I'm measuring a second rectangle just below the first one, 1 by 7, giving a little bit of a gap in between. I don't think I even measured that gap in between. If measuring with a ruler kind of intimidates you, don't worry about it. I'm not going to be that particular about perfect measurements. So now you're going to go to the left-hand side of your page. And I measured a 1/2 inch down from the top of the page, and I'm going to measure a 1/2 inch out from the side as well. So a 1/2 inch in from the top. Just double checking things. I'm going to go 1/2 inch there and draw a line across. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. By the way, when you're using the wooden rulers, the inch line starts at that first line there, not at the edge of the ruler itself. And you're making a rectangle that measures 5 inches across at the top, 7 inches down. And I'm just putting a little dot there to tell what 6 inches down looks like. And it may be a little distorted because I had the camera positioned down, so it doesn't look like a perfect rectangle. It looks like it's skinnier at the bottom, but that's not really correct. That's just a point of view. So here I am. I'm going to measure at every 1 inch line, mark. I'm placing a little pencil dot to let myself know. So I'm lining up the ruler, measuring at every 1 inch. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm going to do that to all 4 sides. And then I'm going to connect up the lines to make kind of a grid. We'll actually be doing quite a few different types of grids, so it's important that you understand how to do them and how to measure correctly. Okay, so that's what it looks like. Now you're going to connect those dots vertically first and then horizontally. And again, you are going light with your pencil mark here. So by the time you're done, each square should end up measuring 1 inch by 1 inch. So you've noticed we're using a little bit thicker paper. That thicker paper is for the ink. Regular drawing paper has a different feel to it. It's not as thick and it has more texture to it, which is harder to use with ink because it'll catch on the point of the pen will catch on the paper itself. So that's what your grid should look like. So again, 5 by 6. So there should be 30 little squares. Below the grid, we're going to put 4 bigger squares. Each square is going to measure 2 inches by 2 inches. And I don't think I even measured it, but it's something close to a 1/2 of an inch or 3/4 of an inch below. You can see I start off with little dots to mark off the 2 inches, and then I connect up the lines. But again, does not have to be perfect. Don't sweat it. And I'm going to put a little bit of a gap in between these. And I guess I measured it as a 1/2 inch. So again, you want 4 of them, and they're all 2 by 2. All right, so we're going to go more towards the central area, just below that rectangle there. And we're going to make a couple of tall rectangles. Each rectangle is going to measure 4 inches by 6 inches. So we're just breaking up this space into sections. So again, it's 6 tall and 4 across, 4 wide. And you're doing 2 of these. And the second one is exactly the same, 4 by 6. Okay, so that part is done. I'm going to go over mine with ink, but I'm going to do that off camera. Outlining it with ink really helps define the areas. So mark making with ink, that's the title box, which is the rectangle that we drew first. It's at the top of the page, right in the center. So we're going to get some line variations going first. All right, so there's some things you're going to need to know about using these types of pens. If you look at the tip, it's really a very fine point. It's really quite fragile. If you press really hard, you're just going to snap that point right off. Another thing is the ink is stored inside the pen, and when you first put down a mark, you might need to wait for the ink to kind of descend to the point. You don't want to press too hard. It's actually better if you go really lightly. The harder you press, the more it's going to prevent the ink from flowing. All right, so what I want to show you here is that if you look on the side of the pens, there's a number. It says micro pen, and then it's 01, 03, or 05. 01 is the thinnest line, 03 is a medium, 05 is a little bit thicker. It also says on the top of the cap, so make sure when you're putting the caps back on that you get the right cap on the right pen. So just FYI. So here's some mark making we'll soon be practicing.